Hello, everyone. This is Sebastian Traeger. I'm the managing director of Reliability Center and reliability.com. And welcome back to another episode of Reliability 4.0. As always, we're on a mission to help make the world a more reliable place. And we are joined today by Dave Fessenbecker. We are excited to have him. He's with Johnsonville, which is headquartered in Sheboygan Falls, Wisconsin. It's one of the top U.S. sausage brands in America and really around the world, and we are thrilled to have him today. So, Dave, thank you for joining us. We appreciate you jumping on this podcast with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, just to kind of kick off, I'd love to hear a little bit more about the company and about your role in the company and how you got there.
Sure. Yeah, and just brief about the company because we do have a pretty long history. But started in 1945. Small little butcher shop in little tiny Johnsonville, Wisconsin, to now we're in 39, 40 countries. We have 6 businesses that we've acquired under the Johnsonville kind of holdings umbrella. We're banging on about a $2 billion revenue. So from a tiny little butcher shop selling bratwurst in Sheboygan, Wisconsin. Yeah. To a multi-billion-dollar corporation, it's quite the testimony. We are big on our company values. We have what's called the Johnsonville Way, which talks a lot about like superlative performance, ownership, accountability. So it's a great culture. Really enjoy working here. I've been with Johnsonville for about 16 years. I actually started out in sanitation, so I coached sanitation coming out of the Army. That was my first role, and just kind of worked my way through, did some stuff in CI, worked CI for a while, then got back into operations in about 2017 as an operations manager at our Watertown facility. So it's about an hour and a half south of here, managing a harvest line and some sausage lines, and then was granted the plant manager role. So I was a plant manager down there for about 4 years. And then this reliability thing came up, and I've been leading our reliability initiative at Johnsonville since, I'd say, 2022.
Okay, fantastic. Well, that's great to hear about. So I just want to drill down on 2 things. One, you mentioned you were in the Army. What did you do there?
I was an ordnance officer, so I got out as a captain, but worked with air defense artillery a little bit. And then spent a year in Baghdad with a combat support hospital. So that was pretty interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, I just happened to be at the right place in the right time, and I got to go with. And that was my last year in the Army. And then after that, I came to Johnsonville.
Okay. Well, thank you for your service. We appreciate it. And for working there. And then tell us something you do outside of work, whether it's family or activities that you enjoy. What's just something for folks to just kind of get to know you a little bit better?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, my family and I are pretty active in our church. We're also active in jiu-jitsu. And now my daughter started wrestling too. So she's getting into grappling. She's 10. The rest of the kids are adults. So we just have our 1 10-year-old at home now. And then I, running, working out, all that kind of stuff.
That's great. Well, that sounds like a lot of fun. That's good. And I'm guessing that in Wisconsin, the summers are amazing, and you look forward to that and get to do a lot outside.
Yeah, I mean, you can't beat Midwest summers. They just also come with the Midwest winters.
Right. Well, good stuff. Well, let's dive back into your role and your work in reliability engineer. Let's just kind of start at the very top. Think strategically and from a goals perspective. When you think about KPIs, just starting with what are the main things when you're in this reliability role, the main kind of areas that you're focused on and that are important to you?
Yeah. So for us, we kind of measure, we have 2, so we have leading and lagging indicators, and our 2 big lag indicators. Hey, how are we performing is cost per unit. We measure it in cost per pound. So what's our cost per pound? Is it going in the right direction? What are our OEEs? I think those are pretty common, lag indicators. But when you start getting to a more granular level, in our TPM journey, we talk about abnormalities. We call them defects. So we want to know how many defects we're finding on the line and how many we're resolving. That's a good leading indicator. that our operators are really looking after their equipment. CIL percentage completion. So are we getting our CILs done? And then on a planned maintenance side, from the planned maintenance pillar, it's about, we call them M2s, but they're basically line down work orders. So our line is down, and we need maintenance support out there. And what we track is the percentage of those M2s, percentage of those work orders. How many of those were without parts? And so the lower the number, the better we view that. So what that means is if my maintenance tech is going out to the line and just making adjustments, that's not a great behavior. We don't want that. We want our operators to have those skills so they can take care of those things. So if that number is going down, that means we're getting the right behaviors. The last thing from a planned maintenance standpoint, from a KPI, is corrective work from our PDM routes and our PMs. So are we finding defects in our PDM routes and our PMs, and then conversely, or with that, are we actually doing the corrective actions?
Okay. So yes, you obviously you don't want to set a goal of like finding problems. You want to fix the problems, but obviously we all know that in these plants there's going to be problems. So we want to make sure we find them and do something about them. So that's really helpful thinking about those KPIs. And I'm just curious, when you had that like that metric around cost per pound, that's, I assume, setting aside the raw material, that's just the operating cost per pound. Is that how you think about that?
Yeah, we do cost X meat. So there could be some variance there with like packaging materials, but those are generally pretty small. Your big pieces are obviously your fixed overhead and your labor variances. And so your fixed overhead, that really will tell you, hey, if I'm running well, I'm running pounds through my facility, or units if I'm doing something besides meat. So yeah, I mean, it's X meat. Yeah, that's the big variable.
Right. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Good question.
Now, this is just another kind of aside, but for your business, do they? I don't know if you've ever heard of the book, or they made you read the book by Upton Sinclair called The Jungle. So I was just mentioning that book. Had you guys heard of that before?
Yeah. There's probably accurate. I mean, I think that book was written in like the early 1900s.
Right. It was.
Yeah.
And for those who don't know, it's a book about a lot of the abuses in the Upper East Side of New York in meat packing plants back when it was unregulated at the turn of the century, and people were coming in. Anyway, it's an interesting book and an interesting area to think about. So let's dive in now to some of the priorities. What are some of the top priorities that you're focused on right now in your business and in your role?
Yeah. So right now we are really early in our reliability journey. And when I say reliability, I really mean TPM. So we're really early in our TPM journey. We're about 2 years into it. We have 6 plants, 6 pilot lines. Now we've graduated a couple more regular lines. But really what we're focused on is creating that operator skill. Right? We want everybody to build their capabilities. So we need operators to know their equipment better, know how to troubleshoot, know how to find and correct defects, know how to lubricate, know what to inspect. So that's what we're really focused on. On the planned maintenance side, pretty hot and heavy on like predictive maintenance routes, using ultrasound, doing precision lubrication, doing precision maintenance. So, torque wrenching, making sure we're doing proper alignment when we're putting in shafts and gearboxes and all that. And that's the umbrella of what we're really looking at right now. Those are, if I had to summarize it, those are the big things we're really focusing on.
Good. I'm gonna talk about innovation in a moment, but right now, so we'll talk about the future in a second. But right now, what do you find as sort of indispensable tools that you use, or things that you would say, hey, here's a couple of whether it's software or whether it's something else that you're finding like really useful in your work?
Yeah. So we've partnered with a company called Red Zone. It's an intelligent manufacturing platform. We actually, ironically, had Ignition before Red Zone. but we went with red zone because we felt that it was a better cultural play than what we had, and we just couldn't support ignition internally. So red zone's been a really, really great tool because operators and maintenance technicians can really interact well on that. Like, for instance, if I see a defect on my line, let's say a bearing's making a noise. Now, at that point, it's pretty late in the failure curve, but I can take a video of it. It'll record the sound. You can see it wobble. If it's wobbling, this is an extreme case, and I can send it to the maintenance team, and then they can, okay, and I can, they can we can get a work order in right away, reference that defect in red zone, and it just streamlines the whole process. It also helps our operators really quickly, like, send in that defect versus before we'd fill out like a paper tag and do that all manual.
Yeah.
So that's probably our number one tool right now, outside of just like, precision lubrication tools, doing a little bit with motor circuit analysis. But those are probably the big ones right now, is kind of that predictive maintenance and red zone.
That's good. Well, and we always have to ask this question because it's kind of what our company does, but how do RCAs fit into the entire reliability process for you all? Where is that in the kind of cycle of the work that you're doing?
Yeah. So, when we look at root cause analysis, it's really in kind of three buckets, that if I would have to say it. So one is in the moment. So that's where our focused improvement pillar is really working on right now, building those behaviors in the moment. So let's say I've had 2 red hours on the line. That triggers an RCA for that operations group to, let's get to the root cause instead of keep trying to do an action. Secondly, more systemic problems. So when you look at your line and you have a loss analysis, right? How do we whittle down our top loss? We'll use RCAs to do that. And then third, on the planned maintenance side, breakdown analysis. Now, typically breakdowns for us account for about 5% of our losses. So by breakdown, I mean we've been down for more than 10 minutes and we've replaced a part. So when we do a breakdown analysis, that's a pretty deep dive. They'll cut open bearings, they'll tear apart motors, they'll, whatever needs to be done. That they kind of have what we call an autopsy table, for lack of a better term.
Okay.
They'll use those RCA tools, sometimes with the help of our FI pillar owner. But yeah, those are kind of the three areas where it's really critical. But right now, our number one focus is that in the moment problem solving, because what we've seen happen in the past is we just start shotgunning, right? Try this, try that, do that, and now everything's out of balance.
And how and is that happening in red zone then? That instant problem solving.
Yep. That way we can also track it, because that's one of our leading measures in FI. Like, how many in the moment problem solvings are we doing?
That's great. Well, looking ahead now, so that's kind of current. As you kind of think about innovation as it relates to either AI or IoT, how is that impacting you all? Where do you see some of those bleeding edges of innovation and technology?
Yeah, I think as we start to go up that failure curve and become more and more predictable, reliable, I would say, we're investigating like vibration sensors, things like that, where we can get condition-based monitoring, throughout our assets real time. That'll be based on criticality analysis. So we do some of that already on our really, really critical equipment, think like ammonia compressors, things like that. But how do we break that down even to like so we rank our criticality ABC. Think of just B takes the line down. So do we need to do some of that with B assets? That, we're doing some of that today with our A's, where the failure could be pretty catastrophic. But we don't do that with B's.
And are you seeing AI begin to impact your work yet, or has that not started to happen?
Not yet. There's been conversations, but we really, especially in the reliability space, we haven't done too much with that.
Okay. And are you thinking that's on the horizon, or do you see promise for it? What level of excitement is there or skepticism is there?
Yeah. I think the skepticism is always about like open source, right? And our sort of trade secrets gonna get leaked out. But I think also
Right.
the excitement could be, I think, mostly around like our training pillar and maybe some of our office functions. How can we leverage AI to create, let's say, better schedules or better training documents, that sort of thing, and maybe not even about being better, but just more efficient. The one thing that we've learned through our journey the last couple of years is we often talk about reliability in terms of equipment, but reliability for us really encompasses equipment, people, and process. So how can we leverage AI, specifically probably around more of the people process part? And as we get more mature and predictive, can you use AI to, measure vibration and, run those algorithms? I know that's probably already done already, but how can you make it better? But I would say,
yeah, that's good.
People process area first.
That's great. Well, great. Well, let's any kind of final word. We always like to ask one final word. What's one thing about your work or the field of expertise where you just want to share with other reliability engineers? Maybe it's one thing you've learned or something that you like. If you had to impart one idea, what might that be?
Yeah, the biggest learning for me over the last 2 years, if I had to summarize it, is, and especially when you look at like leading a plant, leading different departments, reliability is about everybody participating. That's the only way you're really going to get a reliable plant. It can't fall on the maintenance team. And traditionally, that's how we viewed reliability at Johnsonville. But since we've adopted a different approach and encompassed everybody, we've seen our OEs go up, our unplanned downtime go down. It's been great.
That's good. So effectively, like, play as a team. Don't want one individual doing it. We all have to have the mentality and have a commitment and understand even what it's about. That's really helpful. Well, this has been great. Thank you, Dave Fessenbecker, so much for your time. We really appreciate it. This has been a great conversation. Again, really appreciate Dave. Dave serves as the Director of Reliability at Johnsonville. And he's been able to share some insights with us, and we just really appreciate your time and giving us some of that time. And to anybody out there listening, again, we're all about helping reliability engineers and really anyone who wants to learn to take the next steps in thinking through how to apply technology and apply best practices to their work. So the way we do that is have conversations with others. So hopefully this is an opportunity for you to learn from each other. And again, if you're looking for any RCA training or resources or software, check out reliability.com or check out our software, easyrca.com. So we appreciate your time, everyone. That's all we have today. And we appreciate together, we want to go forth and make the world a more reliable place. So we'll see you on the next episode. Thanks so much.